Welcome to the Wrestle Factor Podcast. My name is Josh. With me is brother Jay, as always.
Impeccable intros, as always.
Thank you very much. We're very sleepy. It's getting kind of late. 9:17 is very late for us.
I mean, yeah.
I'm on vacation right now, but normally I work at 6 in the morning. I usually got to be up an hour or so before then.
I got off work about an hour ago. So.
Yeah.
I worked more than I slept last night.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So yeah, that's always
That's
fun.
usually me every night because I don't give myself enough time to get a full night's sleep. And I have to dedicate about 10 hours out of my day for work, whether it's working or breaks or travel, whatever.
Knowing I can function on very little sleep is a bad thing. because
then you make yourself do it.
Exactly.
I spend probably an hour or so.
Wow, why am I so miserable all the time?
Oh, it's because I sleep 4 hours.
I just need to sleep more.
The thing is, I always go lay in bed on time, but then I spend an hour watching YouTube.
Yep.
When I shouldn't be. And then my head hurts when I wake up because I spent an hour looking at a screen before I went to sleep.
I don't have that problem. I'm just...
Well, not so much a headache, but you sleep better if you don't stare at a screen before going to sleep. Anyway, what has happened since we last had a podcast, my brother?
Not much.
Not much. Technically speaking, there was roughly 10 hours of television.
Roughly.
Roughly.
There was a Raw.
Wasn't even important?
There was a
Not so much.
There was a Raw. There was a SmackDown. There was another Raw, and there was another SmackDown.
Well, actually, there was also Extreme Rules.
Well,
So there was probably close to 15 hours that we didn't talk about yet.
Speaking of Extreme Rules, didn't we have predictions for that?
We did have predictions for that, and I won.
Boo!
I won 9. Hey, after what was before Extreme Rules? Stomping Grounds.
Yes.
You got that perfect, so I don't want to hear it that you lost. It's my turn to win, okay? And I only won by 2 points. I won 9 predictions to 7, and my prize for winning is I get to go first in the Season 2 draft, which is still scheduled to start at SummerSlam. We'll see.
Which I did not realize is like less than 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I think it is.
Something to that effect. It's usually a little more. It's like a week later than No, it's like a week earlier this year than it usually is. It's usually like mid-August.
Yeah,
it's pretty early.
So our draft, assuming that we don't have another scheduling conflict like we have been this month. If you notice that we had to skip a week, we did a podcast, and then we had to skip last week too.
Yeah.
Just because our schedules aren't lining up. That might change soon, but we'll see.
We'll see.
And yes, if all goes well, we'll have the draft come out that week of leading up to SummerSlam, and SummerSlam will be day 1 of Season 2. So let's hope for that. Speaking of SummerSlam, in a Caleb Braxton style transition, Bray Wyatt has made his debut as The Fiend and will now be fighting Finn Balor at SummerSlam.
Awesome.
On SmackDown, Finn Balor came out.
Finn Balor
came out.
The extraordinary man.
Well, he came out and he challenged Bray Wyatt.
He
challenged The Fiend. You good?
Hey, Balor clubs for everyone, right?
That's true. Bray Wyatt came up on screen in his Mr. Rogers style outfit, and he was like, "You may be an extraordinary man, but The Fiend is no man." And I was like, "Ooh, I got chills."
Oh.
I'm very
wowie.
I'm very excited to see The Fiend in a match. How do you feel?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, simply, like,
great answer to that question. How do you feel? Yes.
Bray Wyatt is one of the few good things with WWE programming nowadays.
I would say it's the best thing going right now, with the exception of NXT as a whole.
I need to get caught up with NXT. I get very lazy. I get busy with WWE stuff, and then like AEW has one show that comes around like every month, so that's easy to watch. But trying to it's only like 1 hour. I don't know why I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't do that, but I guess whenever you have to sit through, Raw and SmackDown,
The 5 hours that is Raw and SmackDown, and then the 1 to 2 pay-per-views a month.
But with NXT, it's like they do a real good job of recapping everything. Yeah. Like, there's only 5 or 6 matches on any big show, and there's usually some sort of video package to tell you everything you need to know about it.
Right, but there's also, like, there's typically only, like, maybe a month or two of storyline leading into a takeover. And because NXT is an hour-long show, and not everyone's on the show each week, there's very like small amount of TV time each person gets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the less that they're like on TV, the easier it is to like tell a story, I guess. There's like less you have to fill it with.
Exactly.
And you can just like all these little bits happen and it led up to this. It's because they write it 4 weeks at a time, they have a clear direction of where they want to go.
Yeah, they have to long-term book.
They have to. Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, so, I don't know. I feel like it's just better in that sense, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're watching that show, it's like you're a pretty dedicated fan, so within that hour, they're not just going to be recapping everything.
Right. They will recap what happened with someone a week or two ago, and the recap takes maybe a minute. You see what happened. Usually it leads to like an interview, like what's your response to this, and then it's on to the next segment.
Yeah.
It flows very well.
This is what happened last week. Now let's get on with it.
Let's get on with it.
Let's not show this 5 other times throughout the show.
Yeah. I had somewhere I was going to go with this, but now I'm drawing a blank. We were talking about NXT, and something popped in my mind, and then we kept talking about NXT, and now I can't remember what it was.
NXT, long-term booking, big shows.
That actually was something. Long-term booking. That made me think, again, about Shane McMahon being on TV all the time. They short-term book everything on the main roster because it pretty much gets rewritten the day of the show.
Pretty much.
Yet Shane McMahon is still on for probably a collective hour every week.
Unfortunately.
That's too much time to put someone on a show that you have not spent enough time planning for. I know sometimes they might have a long-term goal in mind. Like, I know eventually they want to get Shane to this point or maybe write him off TV, but their steps along the way are not always planned out.
No.
And it's very obvious that they are not.
That's why whenever you have 2 people who are going to have a match at a pay-per-view in about 3 weeks, that's why they talk 1 week, beat each other up the next week, and then the go-home angle is just kind of messy.
It's usually a crap interview, or it's a poorly executed brawl of some kind.
Yeah, one of them's in a match and, you know, like gets distracted and loses, or like somebody has a backstage interview where it's just kind of like the same scripted lines.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
And we kind of were talking about this before we started recording, how I mentioned that a lot of people claim to be like veterans of the business, and yet they still fall for a lot of the same things that everyone does. Distractions are one of those things. If you've been wrestling for 15 years, why does it still distract you when someone's music hits and you're like, who's there? And you turn around and you get rolled up and pinned.
I could see shooting a quick glance just to see who it is, but
to divert your attention as a whole away from your current opponent, and that's how they beat you, that is a rookie mistake.
That's why the sets need to not be this giant light show. It gets distracting.
Yeah.
Just, look at all the flashing lights. Oh, roll up.
I missed the 2 weeks where they actually darkened out the crowd for Raw.
Oh yeah, remember when the third hour was supposed to get, you know, gritty and edgy and raw?
2 weeks wasn't enough to bring 1 million viewers back, so we got to cut it.
Yeah. But we still got 24/7 title.
Yay. I know a lot of people are jazzed about the 24/7 title, and they like that it's, you know, Truth and Maverick, and they think they're funny. I'm just a little over it at this point.
They could have done something else by now.
I don't care if those two like hot potato the title a bit, because I understand that's kind of the nature of it. Can we get a few other people in there, and not Hall of Famers, please?
Yes, like the title. I feel like the title is now just a joke. Like, I know it wasn't.
It was
really,
always a joke.
Yeah, it wasn't really ever supposed to be taken seriously, but like, why does everybody want it? Like, what has really been like the saving grace of the 24/7 title? Like, our Truth has had it on and off for like 3 months now. or however long it's been around.
Maybe.
And yet, like, he hasn't really had a title opportunity anywhere else yet. He hasn't really been on the show besides running away from the undercard.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Maybe. Hear me out here. Maybe.
We'll get on
And
with
this
it.
is me putting a lot of faith in WWE creative right here. Sorry, I'm also trying to fix my microphone stand as I'm saying this because it's like drooping. But maybe the point of the 24/7 championship is to, by comparison to the other titles, make all the other titles look important.
No.
Hear me out. Hear me out. If you were to have a match between Drake Maverick and... Hang on, let me back up. You have a match between, like this week, Shinsuke Nakamura and Apollo Crews. The match was okay. Not a bad match. They kind of felt evenly matched, or even if you have a match between Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, they're both the mid-card champions. They kind of feel evenly matched in that sense. Cool. Good match. If you have a match between Drake Maverick and Shinsuke Nakamura, Shinsuke is obviously the better wrestler there.
Well, he's the only wrestler, technically.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Shinsuke Nakamura is a wrestler with a championship. Drake Maverick is a clown
Yes.
with a piece of gold
Sometimes.
in this scenario. I know they were not writing that whatsoever, but that's just a thought I had in my head, giving them a little bit of credibility.
By the way, I skipped through a lot of the 24/7 shenanigans that happened on the reunion show.
Mm-hmm.
But I caught a glimpse of Drake Maverick's wife down talking R-Truth. She is terrible at delivering lines.
She is.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You have ruined my marriage. Yeah, I caught that too.
Although see this is, I don't care much for the title, but I do like Drake Maverick. I've seen what he used to do in TNA as Rockstar Spud, the stuff he would do with EC3. I don't know why they haven't paired them up.
I don't know.
They're
because Vince McMahon does not watch anything out of WWE, and that's been proven.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I don't care much for the title, but the little bit at the end where R-Truth jumps into the limo with Drake Maverick's wife, and it goes, and he's just like, my title. And, he looks up and sees Carmella's like, my wife! I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I kind of like that part too.
Yeah. You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Moving on to some titles that actually mean something. The Universal and WWE titles have their respective matches and feuds set in motion for SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar, the Universal Champion, is defending against Seth Rollins.
Quick question. If you could have anybody be Universal Champion right now, who would it be?
How dare you? How dare you?
Right now. Right now. Top of your head.
If I could have anyone be Universal Champion, I don't want to say Seth Rollins again, just because that's the obvious choice, but...
Say brand split is still intact, someone on Raw as Universal Champion.
AJ Styles.
I mean, of course. He's pretty much the only other option.
Give the U.S. title someone else.
I mean, Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe's a good one.
I don't know. I feel like they need to just build up stars in general, but have some of the bigger names go back towards like the U.S. and IC title and actually make those titles mean something.
Nah, why would they do that?
Well, I don't know. Finn Balor just wins the title and then like a month or two later, after not being on TV, just loses it on the pre-show.
Yeah.
I mean, Shinsuke's already had better luck with it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just the person.
It's the person and whether or not management likes that person and wants to push that person. That's all it is. We got
Shinsuke as the IC champion. He's already had a match and he's already won it, so it's looking good so far.
You've got Shinsuke as your IC champion, AJ Styles as your US champion. Both of those people were feuding over the WWE championship just over a year ago.
Exactly.
It's weird how stuff changes.
Exactly.
And they're both heels now. When they started that match, they were both babyface.
Mm-hmm. By the end of it, Shinsuke wasn't.
Memories.
We were there.
We were there. Mania 34.
Honestly, I don't really remember much from that match.
What I remember from the show overall, being in the crowd, is that the chanting of the crowd was very noticeable, obviously, in the arena.
Yes.
On TV, not so much. You couldn't really hear them say anything.
Because people were heavily booing the main event.
Very much. They had beach balls, they were booing everything, they were chanting for anything else. You know, no one was excited for Lesnar and Reigns.
Because after all that time, it's like, it wasn't really the match we wanted to see anyway, and we were kind of just expecting, like, oh, well, here they go again. Roman's just gonna win in the main event of WrestleMania again, and they're gonna try and make him the guy, and then he loses, and so we're like, well, why waste our time?
So we could beat him at SummerSlam,
and then have to relinquish the title.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they didn't exactly see that part coming, but
right.
But now, less than a year later, Brock has the title again, so we've taken like 50 steps back.
Reigns and Lesnar is just one of those feuds that just isn't going to work out. I don't feel like ever. So it's one they kind of need to stay away from. They've already tried it twice.
They need someone who can legitimately make the Universal title mean something. Because think about
Seth doing a decent job.
Think about who's had it. Finn, inaugural champion, had to relinquish it the next night due to injury. Kevin Owens, he becomes Universal champion, and it's him and Chris Jericho having like one of the best runs of the last decade.
Right.
Being best friends.
The Festival of Friendship.
That was the greatest segment of, what was it, like 2017?
I think so. Yeah, because it was, I think it was February that year.
Yeah.
Because Goldberg beat him for the title at Fastlane?
Yes. Which, just to think, they could have gone along with that storyline and had Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania for the Universal title. That would have made the title mean something.
Yeah.
Not Kevin Owens gets distracted, speared, or jackhammer spear.
Jackhammer spear.
Spear, jackhammer, spear, concussion, drop Undertaker on his head.
Sandbag dead fish.
Yeah, I didn't watch that match. So, anyway, instead of having that, they could have had like a good match at WrestleMania and make the title mean something. Not Goldberg has the title and then he loses it in 6 minutes to Brock Lesnar, who we never even see the title.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brock held that until.
Brock held the title.
I think he held it until Roman Reigns beat him.
Yes, because they made a big deal about him holding the title for over 500 days.
Yeah.
Beating CM Punk's reign without once mentioning his name.
Well, yeah, no.
They aren't going to do that. But
no. Well, it wasn't the WWE Championship, so it doesn't matter.
It's still a world title.
Yeah, it was one of the longest reigns in recent history, but at the same time, he only defended it like I wouldn't even
5 times.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say double digits.
No, definitely not.
Like he might have even just barely appeared every other month.
Yeah,
if we were lucky. But yeah, Roman beats him. Roman has to relinquish the title, unfortunately, and then they immediately put the belt back on Brock. He holds it up until WrestleMania. Seth wins. And then Seth has the title for a couple months, and then now Brock just has it because they just want Brock to have it. Just throws himself in the Money in the Bank, cashes it in just like a little over 2 months later, and now the title's just gone.
Yep.
Why should we care about a title we never see?
When he cashed in, it was one of the most annoyed I've ever been in a long time. Hold on. And I very much considered not watching wrestling the following week because I was very frustrated with it. Because it's just one of those things. They just keep coming back to this well of frustration. Like, what are you doing? You're putting a lot of money into this guy that people really don't want to see.
No.
I know statistically a lot of people do want to see him or whatever. For me, it's like I want to see him lose.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see a 15-minute match that just has suplexes.
But I will buy into this if the payoff is Seth Rollins beating him again. This time, clean. No low blow, no shenanigans or of any kind. Like, pins him clean. I will be okay with it then.
I doubt that'll happen.
But if Brock Lesnar just destroys Seth Rollins and holds the belt up through Mania again.
Well, with Paul Heyman being executive director on Raw now, who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, like that's done a whole lot so far.
Which I don't even necessarily care about, like Lesnar showing up for like the big shows to have like a.
But why does he have to be the world champion?
It's like you've been trying to make this belt, which didn't get off to a good start with the way it looked. Like that immediately ruined the match to decide the first champion because they hated the belt design so much that they didn't even care about the match. And then after that, it just kept going downhill from there. So it's like, why do we care about the Universal Championship? It's like, there are more people who want the 24/7 title than the Universal title.
Because it just means their name is, as a champion in the record books, regardless.
Yeah. But honestly, how many people are trying to become Universal Champion? Besides Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin, has he actually even tried to get it back since he lost in Extreme Rules?
He can't.
Well, he was in that.
He can't go for it until.
The agreement was he couldn't go after it as long as Seth was holding it. He was in that 10-person battle royal.
You think
the cross-branded all-star top 10 battle royal,
which didn't even last 10 minutes.
No, the women's match was like twice as long.
Yeah, just people were upset about that apparently.
It's just, I don't have a problem with the women's match going longer, but there was a very big space in the middle where nothing significant happened.
No. They could have put that time.
There was no storytelling within the match. It was mostly just Alexa, hanging outside the ring waiting for her moment, which is not a stupid thing to do.
No.
It's perfectly fine for a heel to do, because then she can just seize her opportunity. There's no rule against it.
Which I hate about commentary is that Corey Graves makes a lot of good points about heel maneuvers. Mm-hmm. And then Renee Young or Byron Saxton gets all upset. It's like, why are you getting upset? They're within the rules. Yeah. You don't have to agree with it, but it's smart. Yeah. It's if you're in a triple threat or a fatal four-way, you don't have to be in the ring. Just wait.
Right.
These two are beating each other up, doing all the work.
The record books are not going to say how you won, other than the finish of the match.
Exactly. Renee getting upset about, Alexa's done so much in her career, but, Renee's like, well, but how'd you actually get there? You manipulated and you kind of just snuck under at the last minute. It's doesn't matter. I've been champion multiple times on multiple brands.
Yeah. We got off on a wild tangent.
Oh, that always happens.
That happens all the time. But let's circle back around for a moment. We kind of chit-chat enough about the Universal title. What about the WWE title? How do you feel about Kofi Kingston versus Randall Orton?
Randall
Orton.
And
his 3 most destructive letters in sports entertainment.
I feel like he does that just to... It's the only way you can be a heel now. It's I acknowledge that it's sports entertainment, not a professional wrestling.
Tommaso Ciampa doing that.
Exactly.
Mr. Sports Entertainment.
Exactly.
He's so good.
But yeah, it's something I'm actually excited about. Just, their face-off that they had on SmackDown. Either Randy is a very tall man or Kofi is a very short man.
I think Randy's pretty tall. I think he's over 6 foot.
I think it might be a little of both, because Kofi was barely coming up to Randy's chin, I think. Mm-hmm. And that's with holding up the title.
That's the tip of his knuckles when he's holding the title up.
It was you looked at the New Day and Kofi was your choice. I don't know.
He's kind of that good middle ground. Xavier's the little guy with all the speed, and Big E's the powerhouse, and Kofi's just right there in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll let Xavier do anything ever.
Well, he's a tag team champion right now.
Although, the New Day doing commentary for the first half of SmackDown.
I thought it was gonna go through the whole show.
Yeah, and Shawn Michaels comes out and Xavier's singing along to the theme song. It's oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a match I'm
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I don't often look forward to Randy Orton matches or feuds anymore, just because he's been around a long time. It's just he doesn't have that fiery personality. He doesn't have a lot of that charisma He's just more of like a slow and meditated guy, and he's like a viper. He just like takes his time to strike.
Yeah, but at the same time, because he's one of the more veteran guys, I think he kind of likes being able to get away with saying certain stuff on the mic. It's like, or like just saying whatever he wants on Twitter. Like apparently you can get in trouble for saying swears or whatnot on Twitter, but
he'll do it anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't care. It's like, well, what are you gonna do? Fire me?
Yeah. Well, he's also there's been reports for a while, like years, that because he's already failed the wellness policy twice through his termination.
Yeah.
He's failed it twice, so they're very reluctant to like give him another world title reign. Because if he fails his wellness policy during a world title reign, he's fired and they have to strip him of it.
Yeah.
And at that point, you kind of have to acknowledge it. So.
I mean, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Thought I had something else I was going to say there, but...
I told you, dude, we're tired tonight.
Same, yeah. It's been a long day.
It has been a very long day.
I watched all my wrestling this morning before work, and just...
Yeah.
Out of my mind.
I've been working on my other channels and stuff.
I could use one of those unnecessary recaps right now.
I'm actually asking for one right now.
Yeah.
Do you have any opinions whatsoever about the women's title feuds? Whether it be Lynch and Natalya or Bayley and Ember?
Just like how WWE always does, they make me not care about something I like. I feel like they could have found somebody else for Becky Lynch.
Well, they went with Natalya because it's Canada.
Oh, wow. There's...
I actually think that their promos back and forth have been pretty good.
I don't know. Like, Natalya's been around for so long, and she's had so much, like, bad booking around her. And I don't know. There's certain people that they book in matches that you just know they're not going to win. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is one of them.
Yeah, because she had no prior booking to make her a legitimate threat.
Exactly.
It was one of those things where, like, they booked her as a threat to start this feud.
This is kind of my reasoning with Ember Moon. They have her in just this know-nothing feud, if you can even call it that, with
Mandy. It's a good sportsmanship feud with Bayley.
No, not even that. They, for the past few months, or just weeks, they've had this, like, ongoing thing with her, Sonya, and Mandy, where, they would, like, tease her or bully her, whatever, and she would just get upset. And then I think they had a match and she won, and then out of nowhere, she's just the contender for the title.
Yeah.
Just because Bayley says so.
It's turning into more of a Mandy and Sonya, are they lovers kind of thing.
Oh, who cares?
Which, fantastic. I don't need to watch wrestling for stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Gay girls. Cool. I mean, awesome. Good for you, but I don't care. Just like how I don't care about the Canellises. I think that is one of the worst things in wrestling nowadays. And
thank God there was nothing. Well, okay, I take that back. There was something.
Mike Cucknellis.
I was going to say there was nothing on Raw this week about that, but there was. They had to squeeze that in, of all things. Yeah. Free cheers for berating your husband.
Yeah. It's like...
That's not domestic abuse at all.
Way to have 5 years of this.
Yeah.
With those fresh contracts.
Yeah.
I don't know. Supposedly that's one of, like, the new storylines from Paul Heyman. That's what, the rumors are saying.
It's not off to a good start.
He's got some good stuff, but they need to drop that. It is, like, whenever they did it the first week, and she was just berating him in the ring or whatever.
That's all she's been doing for 3 weeks.
Well, that's the only time I've watched it. Like, I was listening to that and, like, it was just so cringy.
Well, they did that.
It's like...
And the next week she had her pregnancy craving. She wanted pickles and ice cream.
Yeah.
And berated him until he went and got it.
Exactly.
And then still wasn't happy. And then this week, I mean, I don't even remember what they talked about, but I know they were part of the show. They were backstage.
Yeah, it was like...
Mike was talking to Eve Torres?
Sure. Sure.
And she was not happy about it, and then...
I don't know. I watched the Hulu version, as always, so half of it gets cut, and then a lot of it I just skip.
Yeah.
Because out of all things, like they had Rob Van Dam on. I didn't see that. But guess what?
Didn't do anything.
Mike Cucknellis was on there. I love that name.
But one thing that you shouldn't skip, Hulu or not Hulu version, no matter what, you should not have skipped the OC.
Oh, I would never skip the OC.
AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson are now known as the OC.
Not just the club anymore. They're
the original
official only
club.
The OC.
OC. And this week they kind of got, I wouldn't say beat down. They kind of had this standoff kind of something or other with DX and the Click, and
I'll give it a pass because it wasn't
like at Raw 25 when the Revival got beat down by DX. This was actually like they stood their ground and actually fought them a bit, and they still are a credible threat after having lost this whole showdown.
Which I like how Road Dogg called attention to Billy Gunn not being there.
I forgot Billy. Because I knew, I was waiting to see if he was going to come out, and I saw he wasn't there, and I was like, how are they going to mention this?
Yeah.
They did not mention, though, earlier in the night, Devon came out there without Bubba Ray.
No.
And I know that Bubba Ray just straight up turned down the appearance.
I'm not surprised.
It's just kind of weird that Devon would be there without Bubba.
Well, Devon's a producer. So he's he works backstage.
I forgot about that, huh?
So he's actually with the company, whereas Bubba Ray or Bully Ray, whatever you want to call him.
He's Bubba Ray in the WWE.
True. But, I mean,
not there.
I don't know. Did you ever watch any of his Bully Ray stuff?
No.
I mean, you didn't watch TNA?
I have watched, I would say, if I had told you that I have watched a collective 5 episodes of not wrestling shows, that's a generous statement. I've watched very little wrestling outside of WWE just because there's so much WWE to watch, 6 hours a week, and I don't have easy access to anything else.
Well, I got into the nice little age of TNA wrestling, right after they stopped trying to compete with Monday Night Raw, and they went back to Thursdays, around 2011. And 2011 to 2013 was a good little stretch that they had. AJ Styles kind of got into a grittier character. Bubba Ray became Bully Ray and started doing a singles run, became the world champion. They had a lot of good stuff through those couple of years. I'm not saying 100% of it was great.
Well, yeah. Even NXT has some flops once in a while.
Yeah, the lower card stuff, and there's this weird cage match where it's you had to escape the cage and then run up the ramp to a ladder and then climb that ladder and then you get the title. It's
what?
Why? just make it a ladder match, cage match.
Make it a ladder cage match.
Okay, make it a cage of ladders.
While we're on the topic, can cage matches just be either have no doors or have have a roof to it or something? I think we talked about this before, about how cage matches are kind of dumb.
I think we talked about if you're disappointed that a cage match doesn't end via escape.
Yeah.
Because that's the main stipulation for winning.
And to climb over the top of it, please.
And they say it's so nobody can get in. It's
they say that every time.
Half the time.
No. Every time they have a cage match, there's interference.
Yeah.
And it's because they tell you that no one's allowed in. It's you realize that the top is open, right?
There's a door to literally
There's a door
walk into it.
that is not locked.
Yeah.
You saying no one can get inside, it's just an invitation to get someone in.
It's
because it happens every
challenge
time.
Accepted.
Anyway, I want to circle back around again because we love to do that. Nice. We love to do this and go on off topic. How do you feel about the OC? Do you feel like they're going to get booked well? Do you think there's a clear direction for them? Do you think this is going to be a new faction, not just a 3-man group?
I don't know. I feel like 3-man group is a good number. Yeah, you don't want to get overly populated because then that's too many people that you have to try and book, to look good.
Well, I would love to see at least a 4-man group on the main roster for once.
Finn needs to join them.
Yeah.
And then Undisputed Era, and those two feud. That.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's a future day.
I can only be so excited. But no, it's kind of what I was thinking. Just a little bit of fantasy booking real quick, if you'll indulge me. Is Finn Balor. Maybe he loses to the Fiend, SummerSlam. Kind of just disappears for a little bit. Comes back with a new, like a reinvented attitude, I guess. Or like just a new drive. And he's like beating everyone. And then he decides to team up with the OC. And then they just become this unstoppable faction. They beat everybody.
I think that they should do...
They all win gold. AJ is Universal Champion. Finn Balor is United States Champion. Gallows and Anderson are Tag Team Champions. And then you've also got the Undisputed Era on NXT slowly winning all the gold over there. And then they have this invasion angle where both factions fight at WrestleMania.
We are the greatest faction in wrestling today. And then shock
the system. Ooh.
That would be good. I don't know. I feel like if they're going to try and go into having Balor join the OC, they should kind of do it how they reformed recently, where AJ was getting on to Gallows and Anderson. That's like, you guys used to be, monsters.
They could do that too.
It's like, Finn, I remember you back in, the Japan days. It's like, you were a star over there. What happened now? It's like, you feel like, it seems like you lost your drive. You lost your edge.
You don't even know how to bring out the demon most of the time.
Exactly. It's like, you just want to smile and make everyone happy.
Yeah.
What happened to the guy that wanted to be champion?
Yeah.
If you can't take a forearm.
It's like AJ Styles is right here in the room with me, man.
If you can't take a forearm to the side of the head, you need a guy that's business. Guy from Atlanta.
That's good. I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to talk about the Owens and McMahon feud or nah?
No.
Me either.
No.
See you next week, everybody. Okay. I mean,
it's been so. I'm ready for
I
Shane.
guess we're talking about it. Here we go.
No, it's been all right. I just want Shane to be off TV. I'm tired of seeing Shane.
And I think this is...
I'm tired of a lot of good talent being weighed down by Shane McMahon.
Yes, and I think that's the whole point of this feud, is to get him off TV to start maybe pushing some other people.
Exactly.
Because Shane is taking up a lot of TV time. And that's something... Go back and listen to our podcast called The Rantcast. I think it was episode 8. Could be wrong, but it's titled Rantcast. We complained a lot about Shane on that one.
Yeah, I think it's the one where it's the Fiend and Shane pouring
that was
champagne into the trophy or something. Like that's the thumbnail.
I think that's 2 different ones, but yeah, we complained about Shane on that too.
We usually complain about Shane every week. That's like a
we do a lot of complaining about Shane.
I'm sure
we probably should, next week we're coming back as the We Hate Shane cast.
It's not the Wrestle Factor podcast. It's the We Hate Shane podcast.
Yes. But yeah, I'm getting pretty tired, so I think we should just go ahead and wrap this up here. What do you think?
Yeah. Why not? Next week, Undisputed Era versus the OC fantasy booking.
No promises, but that would be cool.
Card subject to change.
Card subject to change. It's probably just gonna be more complaining about Shane.
I don't know. I've had a fantasy booking idea in my mind for a long time, but I actually need to sit down and iron it out.
Right, maybe write down your script or whatever.
Yeah, which I have some time tomorrow. I might actually try and get that set up for next week.
Well, because we've talked about it, I want to pitch this to you. Undisputed Era, their debut on the main roster. We'll just leave it as broad as that. It doesn't have to be the OC against the OC like we talked about, or even WrestleMania. But Undisputed Era's main roster move. That's one topic I want to talk about.
Yeah, I think we'll try and bring that up soon.
So, yeah, we definitely want to do some fantasy booking stuff because that's fun.
Instead of complaining about the product now, why not see if we can make it better?
Let's just hope in vain that someone in WWE will listen to our podcast and be like, "That's an awesome idea." By the way, remember the last podcast and I told you that guy that always comments? He commented with another generic comment.
Yes, that was me. Good work.
Yes. Well, thanks. I guess someone's interacting. That's something.
We got bots. Got somebody.
It's better than nobody.
It's like
Woo, bots. Yeah.
It's a good clap.
Ouch.
All
right. I'm getting sleepy, so we're gonna end that episode here. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching, for clicking on our crap. Don't click on people's crap. Click on their videos.
If you do, make sure to wash your hands.
Make sure you wash your hands.
Slap that like button and then wash your hands.
Yes.
It's dirty. A lot of people hit that button.
A lot of people hit that.
A lot of people hit that. You should probably get tested. Not gonna lie.
Okay, we'll see you next week then. Bye.